Very good evening, everyone. Today I've got one of the esteemed business owner, Dr. Poonam Gupta. She is the owner of PG Paper Company, and she started this company with a government grant of just £1,000. And today she's sitting on £65 million and a team size of 200 employees. She's exporting 1100 kind of papers, if I'm not mistaken, in 60 plus countries. So, welcome, Dr. Poonam Gupta. Thank you so much for taking time out. We would like to start our conversation by you letting us know what is your background, where did you come from, what was your dream as a teenager, what did you want to become in life? Please.
I'm from India. I am born and brought up in Delhi. And in fact, I did most of my education in India. Growing up as a teenager, I came from, I'm one of four. I have three younger brothers. I came from a joint family, so a very busy family. I was always very fond of reading and almost used to play, I'd say, all possible sports. My dream as a teenager continuously changed, as it happens to all of us. I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be a bureaucrat. I played with the idea of owning my business as well. It depended upon the mood that day. Waking up, okay, what do I want to be today? Then I moved to Scotland, basically back in 2002, having married here. My husband is of Indian origin, but born and brought up here. And in 2003, I started my company, PG Paper. But it wasn't my first venture. Before PG, I had another company which was in recruitment, which I also successfully ran for 6 months. But my heart was always in international business and trade, I guess due to my curious nature and knowing about different countries, different cultures. So when I started playing with this idea of having international business in waste management, if you say, then I think that was quite exciting and challenging both at the same time. Because I was in a new country and I didn't know anything about paper actually when I started in my business.
So, where did this idea about starting a company around paper came in? Where did the seeds got germinated?
As I mentioned, I was always a keen reader, so I'd read newspapers, articles, magazines. And back in 2002, 2003, the big push in the European world was about recycling. How do we reduce landfill? How do we recycle more? So when I was reading more and more about it, I had this feeling that there is a potential of exporting from UK, USA, Europe. What would we called at that time was mixed recycle waste, and had potential to be recycled in countries like India and Thailand. And then I started researching into this area and started speaking to a lot of people, learning about this trade particularly through thorough research. And I realized that there was potentially a case for starting a business here. And I got lucky after 10 months of hard work and research. An Italian manufacturer, I finally managed to convince them to sell me some of their goods, which were otherwise destined for landfill. And I managed to speak to them and I said, please don't waste these goods. Let me try an alternative market for it, which is not your major market, and they will be reused. And they did like the idea, and that's how my company was born.
Superb. I think this is very modest of you to say that you got lucky and it all started. I'm sure there must have been hardships. You must have had your share of struggles. I always believe, as much as we talk about success, we should let the struggles, let the hardships also get into the public, because that is where the real lessons are. So if you'd like to talk about a couple of experiences where you had a very difficult situation and how did you come out of that?
See, I've had now 20 years of career And I'm sure most entrepreneurs would identify with the fact that entrepreneurship, it throws a lot of challenges at you, and every challenge teaches you something. So if I start, let's just take an example from the very beginning. When I moved here, I didn't know anybody, and except my immediate family. And I lost my mother actually very suddenly at a very young age, within a week of coming here. And she was not like in a bad health or suffering for a long time. That hit me very, very hard personally, as you can imagine. And that left me in a very dark place. And I realized that unless I did something about it, I was going into a black hole. And perhaps trying to find job or trying to find my company was my motivation to bring myself out of this really dark place. Since COVID, we've been talking about mental health and how it has affected people. I'm glad more and more people are talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I decided to run PG, I was in a new country with new people. And even though my education was in international business and marketing, every country has its own way of working, its own set of rules.
Sure.
So you can imagine, I had to learn everything from scratch. And I basically tried and contacted many organizations who were running short-term courses, like half-day courses, to try and build on that knowledge of how I can run a successful international business. And then starting with zero funding, that was a big challenge as well. I had no money to pay this Italian company. So I had to think very fast on my feet as to how I was going to finance this business. And after a few negotiations with my customer, I managed to get finance for this particular deal. So I would say starting in the first place in an all new country with hardly any connections was very difficult. And then comes the second part, which is you want to grow your business, and you know that you now have been working very hard in your business. And back in 2005, then in 2008, 2009, when the financial crisis hit, I've gone through multiple times, unfortunately, in my professional cycle where I nearly lost everything. I nearly lost all my business because the way I was growing my business was continuously reinvesting my profits back into my business, living a very humble lifestyle, bare minimum what I needed. Because that's how business can grow. It can either grow on funding from banks or various, a lot of people use VC funds. I was investing practically all my profits back into my business to try and continue with that growth once I had started. And having faced these challenges multiple times, in 2008, 2009, when the financial crisis hit, the markets lost, the prices crashed by nearly over 50%. And I had millions of dollars worth of cargo on the sea. That was very difficult time. And since then, Corona, nobody expected that we'll ever see something like this in our lifetime. I used to think that I expanded my business in 60 different countries. And when you actually are present in multiple countries, a certain resilience is already then built into your business because every country behaves differently at different times.
Absolutely.
So even if you are facing challenges in one country, the other markets can still support that growth and basically keep your business stable. But Corona was such time where all the countries almost simultaneously went into lockdown. People were very uncertain, consumers were very uncertain. And that was a time it was good thing in a way that I was already in business for nearly 18 years. And I was not that worried with Corona. My first focus was to keep my employees safe, to make sure the family was okay. And we overnight managed to basically make our people work from home in various countries, not just in the UK where the headquarters are, successfully, I'd say. But also I gave them the reassurance that no matter what happens, none of them are going to lose their job and none of them are going to get any salary deductions, for example. And I think that assurance from their leader kind of, motivated them. And I told them to utilize the first 6 months when early, I would say 2020, I told them, go into research, try and focus on personal development, try and keep yourself fit. and don't worry about the business. Business is business, it's part of life, will bounce back. And I think these are some of the, I would say, just mentioning some of the challenges that I have faced in over last 2 decades. I'm sure that there are many more I could just keep talking about. But like I said, every challenge teaches us something.
Wonderful, wonderful, Dr. Gupta. So, as you were talking about the challenges and the struggles, one of the questions that was just running through my mind was to ask you, if I were to ask you one of the best years where you saw the best growth year on year, which year would that be? And what was the special thing that you think had happened to your business because of which you got that tremendous growth?
See, once I started in my business in 2003, it was very obvious to me that the potential is huge, because this business had the potential. I started exporting from the UK, USA, Europe to India. Mm-hmm. And then it was a matter of time that I realized that, well, there is potential in other countries in Southeast Asia. Then I opened markets in South America, for example, in your Middle East. So I guess, as you realize that your business has a potential to open multiple markets, it's only normal that as an entrepreneur, I knew that my business is on the right growth path. I don't have particularly a year, because PG in its initial year had very rapid expansion and very rapid growth. In fact, sometimes I had to slow down, because I always wanted to ensure that my business growth should follow properly with the right systems and people in place. Mm-hmm. So, for example, for the first 2 years, I was working by myself in the business. I was my own secretary, I was the logistics manager, I was everything. And yet, I was turning over around 2 million pounds, which is equivalent to 20 crores in Indian currency.
Absolutely.
And then the next jump was 5, then 10, then 20, then I came to 36, got stuck for a while, then I jumped to 56, then 65, and actually now the next target is 100 and 250 just in the paper side of business. And beside PG Paper, I also own multiple other businesses. So all of them, kind of carry on in their journey together. There isn't a particular year, I would say, pinpoint that excites me. I think the future excites me.
Just like I heard somewhere Shah Rukh Khan was being asked the favorite movie that he's done, and he replied back, the next one. And
maybe, well, I think I'm sure it's a privilege if I reminded you of him. He's a great actor.
Okay, great. Do you want to tell the budding entrepreneurs some of the things that he or she should follow, some tips which could be the guiding light for them to start their journey as an entrepreneur?
See, to start the journey, I would simply say, whatever is the idea that you're working on, always do your research properly and budgeting properly. Mm-hmm. I think keep that cool, calm, composed approach where you understand what you're trying to do, because as you go on that growth journey, whenever you require that important funding, I guess, to get to the next level or the next level, you will also have to go and convince external parties like VCs, perhaps private equity or banks, and ask money from them. So unless you understand properly what you're doing, what your future plan is, and how you're going to achieve that, you're not going to convince somebody else. And one of the things I have over the years mentored a lot of businesses, a lot of great ideas. And I tell these entrepreneurs, focus on your sales, revenue. If you can have the best idea in the world, whether it's medical equipment, whether it's, IT industry or anything, but if you're not selling, then you need to ask yourself, is this a great idea? A lot of entrepreneurs, rightly so, they invest a lot of time, which is also important, in the research and development. But once your product, you've got at least your prototype, whether it's product or service, try and test the market with it and see you're going to sell. And then, of course, you can keep improving on whatever that product or service is. But focus on your sales, because that brings in the essential revenue.
Absolutely.
If you're not selling, then you need to
sales is the key.
revisit and think whether it's a good idea.
So, viewers, as Dr. Gupta mentioned, it is the sales that you need to focus more than anything else. And if sales falls in place, everything else definitely will. Dr. Gupta, on that note, may I ask you, what is your goal for your company in next 5 years? Where do you see your company in terms of turnover? Where do you see your company in terms of the expansion and everything in next 5 years?
See, we are very ambitiously trying to fuel our expansion through acquisitions as well. So as far as PG paper is concerned, we started in selling more of what you call papers that you see in your normal newspapers and magazines, and now everybody reads digital online. So what we've done over the years is continuously diversified our business to basically predict the future. We do a lot of innovation in our products. So a lot of our paper today that we trade goes into packaging, various types of packaging. With this e-commerce booming everywhere in the world, there is requirement for these, for example,
packaging material.
Cardboard, packaging material. So we are very focused on that at the moment. We are continuously in new product development and opening new markets. So as far as PG is concerned, I'm sure the future is bright. We are highly ambitious, always have been, but also we are highly sustainable company. Today more than ever before, we are talking about how do we control pollution, how do we become net zero, how do we make sure that we can show that business can be conducted in a sustainable way. So our focus is also on that. Like I've said, right now we are on that next phase of business where I think we are looking to target in next 5 years definitely beyond 250 million pounds of turnover, and perhaps some of that will come from strategic acquisitions.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta, for your time. May all your dreams be fulfilled. May you achieve 150 million pounds or more in less than 5 years. So be it. And we look forward to your continued support in inspiring people around with so much of successful stories and so much of amazing tips that you shared with us for the budding entrepreneurs. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much, Pramod. Thank you. Have a lovely day.